Welcome back to the King's Daughters Filles du Roi New France. In episode 7, The Myths and Realities, we delve into one of the most persistent and damaging slanders against these courageous women. For centuries, a dark rumor has shadowed their legacy, the claim that the king's daughters were women of ill repute, sent to the colony to rid France of its unwanted population. This series and the research that underpins it are inspired by the literary historical fiction novel, The Point of No Return, by Sharon Dis. It strives to portray these women with the dignity and accuracy they deserve. Today, we will dismantle this myth with historical evidence, separating defamatory fiction from documented fact. The notion that King Louis XIV would ship nearly 800 prostitutes across the Atlantic to populate his fledgling colony is a sensational one, but it crumbles under scholarly scrutiny. The consensus among historians is clear. The king's daughters were, for the most part, women of good character, while isolated cases of misconduct were recorded after they arrived in New France. As one might expect in any population, the program itself was built on a foundation of respectability and careful regulation. The myth does not align with the historical record. Let us examine the key realities that refute this claim, starting with the selection process. The women chosen for this royal program were not rounded up from the streets or prisons. They were often orphans from charitable institutions such as the Saup, Tri, Re, Hospital, in parties, or young women from humble but respectable families seeking a better life. To be accepted, each candidate underwent a thorough vetting process. A crucial requirement was a letter of reference, typically from her parish priest or a local magistrate, attesting to her good character, strong constitution, and moral uprightness. This was a system designed to select suitable wives and mothers, not to exploit a social problem. Furthermore, the significant royal investment in the program speaks volumes. King Louis XIV personally sponsored the king's daughters, funding their perilous transatlantic voyage, and, most importantly, providing each woman with a dowry. This dowry, which could include money, goods, and supplies, was a substantial incentive for marriage, and essential for establishing a new household. It is highly improbable that the crown would make such a significant financial and logistical commitment, essentially investing in the future mothers of the colony if the candidates were truly women of ill repute. The king's goal was to build a stable, pious, and self-sustaining French society in North America, a goal fundamentally at odds with the character of the women described in the myth. Upon their arrival in New France, the women were not simply left to their own devices. The intendant of the colony, Jean Talon, implemented strict regulations to ensure the program's success. His primary objective was to facilitate swift, respectable marriages and encourage rapid family formation. To this end, immense pressure was placed on the colony's unmarried men, bachelors who failed to marry one of the newly arrived daughters of the king, within a short period, faced penalties, including the revocation of their hunting, fishing, and fur trading rights. This official insistence on marriage underscores the administration's intent to establish legitimate, stable families as the bedrock of the colony, not to foster a climate of immorality. So, where did this damaging rumor originate? Its popularity can be traced to the writings of figures such as the Baron de la, a disgruntled military officer who served in New France. In his widely read memoirs, he described the women as being of middling virtue, a slanderous and vague comment that took root and grew over time. However, when we turn from sensationalist travelogues to actual demographic data, the story changes completely. Exhaustive studies of parish records for nearly 800 king's daughters revealed remarkably few instances of illegitimate births. In fact, historical records show that only one king's daughter was ever formally charged with prostitution, and this was after her husband had abandoned her in the colony. Far from being a shameful secret, the daughters of the king are now celebrated as the founding mothers of Quebec. Their courage, resilience, and determination laid the foundation for a new society. It is estimated that 2/3 of all French Canadians today can trace their lineage to one of these remarkable women. Their legacy is not one of scandal, but of survival, family, and the creation of a nation. Thank you for joining us as we corrected the historical record. To learn more about these women's lives, please explore the resources mentioned in the description below, including the Canadian Encyclopedia and scholarly articles from the UNT Digital Library. Join us next time as we continue our journey into the world of the King's Daughters.